Okay. So I don't know if any of you have been watching the Pete Hegseth Senate committee BS. These liberals, I tell you, are the most like, especially the one in Michigan. Can't pronounce that lady's. Can't think of her name. Um, she told Pete Hegseth, if you have the balls, if you, she uttered so many personal attacks against Pete Hegseth yesterday. That was just absolutely disgusting. But it wasn't just her; it was other ones. You know, they pretend to be nice and polite, and then and then their sick, deprived minds kick in, and they become blithering lunatics. And I forgot to put my seatbelt on. Gosh, they become these blithering lunatics, and so it's just like, so I'm YouTubing it, skimming through, and it's just, one pathetic comment from them. It's just, well, so and so in his book said this, and that he wouldn't do this, and like Pete said yesterday, I wouldn't believe everything you read in a book. It's just dumb. The resources they pick to hammer Pete with, they just hate Pete because he was on Fox News. He's a veteran. He got rid of all the woke, pardon my French, he got rid of all the woke bullshit. And you can't be a homosexual and be in the military. You just can't. We had a policy in the United States military for decades. For decades and decades. And were there homosexuals in the military? Absolutely. But they were quiet about it. They didn't say anything. They didn't do anything. They weren't wearing it on their shirt sleeve. It was just absolutely pathetic. And so there's a doe and a baby fawn in front of me. And I'm going slow because I don't want her to dart out in front of traffic. And I'm hoping they get around the guard. Yep, there they go. Okay. I wanted them in the guardrail. She's just as cute can be. I wanted them in the guardrail so they don't dart off and run into oncoming traffic, or the idiots behind me run them over. I have a good chunk of property. I have a lot of deer, a lot of turkey. You'd have to be a bad hunter to hunt on my property and not get a deer, because they're just everywhere. Anyway, so that's just one thing I wanted to talk about was, poor Pete Hegseth having to sit through that nonsense, from the liberal left, and be, as Sean Hannity, his vernacular, besmirched. Sit there and be besmirched, by a bunch of feckless cowards. And I love these women. Well, I served in the military too, and I did that. You didn't do fucking shit. Pardon my French again. You weren't on the front lines. You weren't in combat. Supportive roles in combat are one thing. But you weren't out there, in a foxhole eating shit. No, you're probably driving a truck or doing some sort of supportive role, in theater someplace, But you hear these women talk, and they make it sound like they're these, Billy badasses and have the same risks as their male counterparts. They don't. You have females, in the Air Force, they fly jets and this and that. They're not on the ground. They're hundreds of feet or thousands of feet in the air. They're not exposed to the same risks. Just not there. So this will be a long video because I just have a lot to say this morning. And I have not had a cup of coffee, which I'm on my way to go get right now. And just like, women, they don't belong in law enforcement. I'm sorry, I'm 6 foot, 294 pounds. You know, I can rep out 405. What did I do? 12 times. You know, I think theoretically that puts my 1 rep bench press at 540. You know, and I'm in my mid 50s. So it's like, I'd like to see somebody else in their mid 50s press what I press, pull what I pull. There are guys out there, but they're younger. I'm talking dudes my age or older. You know, there's a dude I know, or I don't know him, but he's got to be in his 60s. And gosh, what did he press? I don't know. I was super impressed because the guy really didn't have much of a shape to him. His delts were really small. He had good-sized biceps. I didn't really see a lot of definition in his triceps. But anyway, the guy was just old man strong. I mean, I was just so impressed with this dude. I would have loved to. I like to meet guys like that because it's just when you listen to their story, what motivates them. You know, some guys are just idiot strong, dumb strong. A friend of mine calls it retard strong, and there's some dudes that are just like that. And it's just impressive because it's genetics. Anyway, I'm skipping all over the place, but Pete Hegseth is doing a great job. He's getting rid of the idiots. I think the Navy just broke a record. They achieved their recruiting goals. I think it was like 40,600 already. You know, and so they're just kicking butt. And you know, because people want to serve in the military where a man is a man, a woman is a woman, and there's none of this gay woke shit. You know, if you want to play the skin flute, fine, but you're not doing it here. What you do in the privacy of your own home is your business. You know, I don't go around wearing a patch on my shoulder that says I'm a heterosexual. You know, women are my thing. You know, I mean, think about how dumb is that? So if you saw a dude or a chick walking around, and you know, they got a thing out there that says, "Oh, I'm a heterosexual day." Nobody asked for that. I mean, if you saw that, wouldn't you go, "That's some dumb shit"? Wouldn't you? I would. And so would they. So would most people. You know, it's just like the lunacy has got to stop. And that's what guys like Pete Hegseth are doing. Stopping the idiocy. So who could you be against that? You know, and then what was it the other day? Last Saturday, you know, stop the king, or a march against this or that. And I think they did a calculation. It was like 2% of the United States. That's like the homosexual community. It's like they only represent a percent and a half. Anyway, it's time for my coffee. So I'll make another video here in a minute because I haven't quite figured out how to pause this and start this right back up again. So I'll be back.